Alrighty, what's happening, everyone? Welcome on into the Check Your Brain podcast. My name is Tony Mazur, and if you're watching on YouTube right now or Rumble, that is my podcast page. Go check me out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It is indeed the Check Your Brain podcast, and if you want more content from me, go over to Patreon at patreon.com/Tony Mazur, where I get into a lot of different conversations, drop a couple of F-bombs, and talk about things that would probably get me deplatformed off of YouTube. But while we're at it, let's talk about other stuff that might get me also deplatformed from YouTube. And that is my guest here on today's podcast. He is a return guest. I think I've had him on twice. This will be 3 times. So now you have jumped JD Vance for being on my podcast.
Nice.
He's a comedian from the East Coast, and he's also a podcaster, fellow podcaster. He's had me on his show, and that is Adam Nutter. He is 1/5 of Fair and Balanced Mondays at 8 p.m. right there.
5 till midnight.
Yeah. 5 till midnight. Yes, I love all the Wojaks and the Chads and everything. So it's
it kind of fits all our personalities pretty well.
So I'm assuming you guys do very similar. Talk about the things going on in the news and everything. I've been on several incarnations of your podcast, so it's all from a pretty based perspective, I would assume.
Yeah, we just shoot the shit on like politics and all that stuff. Current events. We're not serious at all. We don't take ourselves serious. It's not like a serious news show. We're just all shitting on each other or shitting on Sam mainly and the whereabouts of the world and America and the whole presidency going on right now and all that stuff.
Well, everything that goes on, and I've now talked to a couple of people since Trump was reelected in November, is that the podcasts have really become the mainstream. It isn't just, oh, well, I listen to podcasts because I'm in the cubicle from 9 to 5 and I've got nothing else to do and I don't like talk radio anymore. So you put a podcast on. It's now gotten to a point where boomers know what they are and can actually find a podcast.
Yeah.
So that's what's great about it. And then now it's like, wait a second, this is great. I can listen to multiple hours with very little, if any, commercials, and they say the F word sometimes. So maybe I could have a little bit of fun with that instead of talk radio where every 5 minutes you have traffic and weather updates and you have the what's going on, the sports ticker, and you have this guy and that guy, and the interviews are about 4 minutes long, and then we got to get to another traffic update. So we've finally jumped to this chasm here. And this is the mainstream. And it's funny because I was on the treadmill today when I was at the gym, and I was watching on mute MSNBC talking about Elon Musk is the real president. And I'm thinking, who is watching this other than people who don't have control of the remote control right now at the airport or at the gym?
Yeah, dude, it's mainly boomers who watch like legacy media on both sides, like conservative and liberal. Or it's like completely brainwashed, like, drones who just believe what they're told. Like I tweeted this out today. I was saying, who do they get their talking points from every morning? The CIA probably. But like, if you look at Twitter, like right now, every left-leaning politician down to just like account on X is all like, Elon Musk is subverting democracy with his Doge. It's like the same exact words. And it's like, dude, like, thank God for the Trump presidency stuff, because like we don't care anymore. Like we don't buy it. You know what I'm saying? Like you can say whatever you want. Like, I'm a Nazi, I'm a bigot, don't care. Like, I do not care. Like, it doesn't.
I'm so happy that you said. I'm so happy you said that, because thinking about where we were just 5 years ago. I mean, let's say even pre-COVID. Let's say from when that what was his name, Gay Wonk, the Carlos Maza. He was deplatformed. He was rallying with the big tech platforms to deplatform anyone from mainstream figures like Steven Crowder for misgendering somebody, and they caved. They bowed to it. Now you can go online and say, fuck you, I don't give a shit, call me whatever you want, and they don't know how to react, because that used to be the old, well, you, sir, are a racist, and they cross their arms.
They tip their fedora cap.
Like, I don't. Yeah, it's exactly. It's like, I don't care what the fuck you call me right now. Oh, I'm a racist. Well, you're an F slur. I'll say that just for YouTube.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't been banned off YouTube yet, because we use that pretty liberally.
I mean, I say it on Patreon, so that if anybody enjoys that kind of stuff, go to Patreon and subscribe.
I'm sure you've seen Dark Knight Rises with Bane.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a scene where he's talking to Daggett, the construction company guy that hired Bane to like do all his dirty work. And he's like, I paid you a small fortune. And Bane walks over there, like, because he's towering over her, and he puts his hand on his shoulder. And he goes, and this gives you power over me. There's a great meme where it's like, but I called you a bigot. And it's like, and this gives you power over me. It's like, who cares? Like, it means nothing anymore. I don't give a shit. It's like a badge of honor now. It's like, oh, I'm a Nazi. Cool. Throw it in the bucket of other words that don't mean anything anymore.
It really is the response to that, because they're so used to using that to wield power over you that I feel that this way and I look down upon you. So now it got to a point, and I found this very interesting after the election. It got to a point where they started noticing that a lot of black people were like, I fucks with this Trump guy. He's a felon, he's whatever. Then Hispanics are like, yeah, I'm Hispanic, but I'm also an American, and I don't like the fact that the border's just flooded, completely open. Tens of millions have come in here in a couple of years. Yeah, I don't like that. I kind of like this guy who says kick everybody else out. And then you started going through all these other groups to the point where it pushed Donald Trump over the edge. And they couldn't say, well, it's just racism that got Trump elected. So now it's, you're retarded. You people
Right.
are so fucking retarded that you can't understand that this man who says he's going to be a dictator on day one, and he's going to be, how do you feel now? And I'm like, actually, I feel pretty good.
Great. I feel great, actually. That's the whole funny thing, too, is first of all, these disingenuous motherfuckers never care about egg prices or anything under Biden or grocery prices under the Biden reign. Then as soon as Trump is in office for 2 weeks, they're like, egg prices are still up, maggots. And I'm like, hey, this was never about eggs, dumb fuck. I don't give a shit about eggs. I'll pay $50 a carton for eggs as long as we keep fucking doing what we're doing everywhere else on the list of things. It's like immigration, jobs, all that shit. Like all day. Dude, do you see they started sending the fucking inmates to Guantanamo Bay like today?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, how much for eggs? Don't give a shit. Never about eggs.
And of course they're using all the other stuff. Who's going to pick the strawberries? Who's going to pick
Right.
the blueberries? Your avocados. And I've said this, and I know you've probably said it as well. If it means I can save my country,
Right.
I will sacrifice guacamole and
Right.
Corona the rest of my life to say that, hey, do I want a nation or do I want a mediocre beer that I drink at a beach?
Right. This has been, we talked about this on Fox Midnight last night. The crazy, like, between Mexico and Canada, the trade tariff stuff going on right now. They do nothing for us. Like, they do not. Like, I saw a Canadian on Twitter was like, I just canceled my vacation to Seattle. I hope they could deal with the other 40 million Canadian. I'm like, dude, we have more people in California than your whole country. You think we need your commerce to fucking succeed? Like, it's this delusional bullshit. I'm like, dude, I don't need your lumber. We have trees. We have Vermont maple syrup and Maine maple. We don't need your fucking syrup. Also, American hockey teams keep winning the Stanley Cup. So, like, suck my balls, dude. Like, I don't care about Canada. And Mexico, same shit. What the fuck are we getting from Mexico? Nothing. Nothing. There's nothing.
Just as an aside, why is someone named Claudia Scheinbaum the
we talked about that last night too.
the president of Mexico? How did that happen?
Yeah, it's
Just
weird.
as an aside.
It's weird how a very patriarchal Catholic country somehow has a lady Jewish president. Crazy.
very, very strange.
Very strange.
I wanted to ask you before we get back to the libs freaking out, and even some conservatives, well, neocons like Bill Kristol, but
Yeah.
let's get to the libertarians, because you and I, especially you, have a real stake in it. You were part of the Mises Caucus, which was the more, I'm going to say it was more of the right-wing faction
100%.
of libertarianism. It wasn't this left-wing, because what's the Robert Conquest quote is, anything that's not explicitly right-wing will eventually go left-wing.
Yes.
I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
And the libertarians right now are just losing their minds. You had a win. Take the win. Donald Trump said, okay, I'll pardon Ross Ulbricht on day one. Okay, it was day two, but
Right.
still.
Woo. Right.
Big deal. It took 2 days. Fine. He had other stuff going on to take care of. But that was the biggest win for the Libertarian Party. And they're busy talking about how I don't like the fact that I never elected Elon Musk and he's taking over Trump's tariff policy. Don't you understand that tariffs are not the... I'm going, you're spurging out at the wrong time. This is everything a libertarian has wanted since the Ron Paul days. And you're blackpilling right now?
This is a giant reason why I kind of just like left the party in a sense. We're like, I'm still friends with a lot of the Mises guys, and I didn't leave because of them. Nothing to do with the MC. Just the LP in general is such a fucking bureaucratic shit show. Where, like Tony, you just said, they don't care about winning. They just want to be the cool kids and stick on their principle. Shut the dude. We're never gonna get. How do you get things done? You got to get into power. Like it's that simple. Like if you get into like we could get rid of the FBI, or not get rid of the FBI, but we could fucking dismantle out of the FBI, we could dismantle out of the ATF. He just put in a bill to get rid of the Department of Education. Like, how are you complaining? Oh, because Karen Ann Harlos, that dumb pink-haired bitch, is like, well, but Angela has done more for the Libertarian Party than anyone before her. It's not even close. And I know I'm biased because I'm friends with Angela. Don't care. Like, I'm right. Like, I'm right. They're a bunch of and all these people, by the way, all these libertarians complaining, they're just closeted leftists who aren't in power, and they're mad they're not in power in their cool kids club because they have no power in their own fucking life. So it just carries on to this. It's the same shit.
The Libertarian presidential candidate every year is always, it's gotten even worse of being a clown show. At one time, it was disenfranchised Republicans like Bill Weld and Gary Johnson sticking his tongue out, doesn't know what Aleppo is. Then in 2020, you have Joe Jorgensen. And this is a woman who, well, outside of the we can't be passively not racist, we have to be actively anti-racist during the height of the summer of George in 2020. And then she's, as Tom Woods has talked about, she's doing outdoor rallies masked up. Everybody's masked up and social distance 5 years ago. And she's talking about the capital gains tax or central bank digital currency or whatever. Okay, those are great topics to discuss. We're dealing with people being welded into their homes right now, and you're talking about something. What a joke. And then this time around, people wanted Dave Smith. Dave has 2 young kids. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to really do this right now. So then it was between Michael Rechtenwald, who's been pretty good. He's especially been pretty good on Israel lately. And then you have this Chase Oliver, this pro-mask, pro-vax, pro-BLM. He worked for Raphael Warnock's campaign a couple of years ago. Trans the kids, all of that, pro-abortion, and yet says that he's the new libertarian. He got less votes than any of them.
Which, by the way, 2 things. First of all, people will always be like, oh, you just hate Chase because he's gay. I'm like, I don't hate him because he's gay, but like, it does subvert culture. Like, let's stop pretending it doesn't. Like that shit isn't American values. It's not, it's not definitely not conservative. Second thing, Angela pushing Chase was the smartest shit ever because she knew what was going to fucking happen. Oh, he's gonna get point. He lost to more results in Google. Like, it was like, Trump, Kamala, fucking RFK, Jill Stein, and then you had to hit more results to find Chase Oliver. So, like, brilliant move on her part to push more votes towards Trump. But, like, yeah, he's not, he's libertarian, the guy who's like, well, I'm pro-gun. Great. What about everything else? What about everything? What about the mask and being like, you shouldn't go to Thanksgiving dinner with your family? Shut up, bitch. It's like, dude, no, you're not the face of libertarianism. Nonetheless, like a freedom guy. Like, it's crazy, dude. Like, but great move on Angela to push him.
Absolutely. And the Libertarian Party, because you and I are about the same age, so we came of age during the Ron Paul movement. I was a cradle conservative that raised on Reagan, Bush. We hated Clinton. We called CNN the Clinton News Network. So we supported George Bush. We had a Bush sign in our lawn and everything. And obviously we, kind of regret, but I was also
kind of fucked that one up. I know.
I didn't vote for him. I was a teenager at the time.
Yeah, we were teens. Yeah, we couldn't vote.
Yeah, so by 2008, you really were looking at that pendulum the way it did in 2024. The pendulum really swung hard left because of what the neocons. Thank you, Bill Kristol. Thank you, John McCain. Thank you, all of them. And it swung that way, and I had to take the lumps. You just got to take it. But as a 20-something at that time, you wanted to find what is it going to be that's the next moment for I don't want to say Republicans because I don't like that large R party. What is it going to be? When I started hearing about Ron Paul, I'm like, okay, this guy seems pretty interesting. Tea Party movement 2010. Tea Party takes over a lot of places. It's the Republican Revolution of 1994 all over again. But it turns into a clown show in 2012, and they're putting up Rick Santorum and Rick Perry
Yeah.
and all these other jokers. And then eventually you get Mitt Romney, and he gets his ass kicked, gets his clock cleaned in 2012 by Obama. And that's where all the woke stuff really popped up after that
Yeah.
second Obama election. And you just go, I was a libertarian in those days, but it clearly wasn't enough. People are not clamoring for that third party. And then when a certain orange man with a pompadour haircut goes down a golden escalator 10 years ago, I'm like, maybe this is the fresh blood that we need. This
Right.
twice divorced guy that he's been in our lives. He was in the Little Rascals movie, and we saw
Home
him in
Alone.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He's been all own football teams, wanted to be part of the NFL. Maybe he is the answer. And again, I'm not saying that he is the most conservative president. He's certainly not a libertarian president, but what's your alternative? And the Libertarian Party, dyed-in-the-wool Republicans who say that Trump is not conservative enough for our taste, then you're losers. Then you're the Washington
Right.
Generals. So
Right.
for me to say that I'm going to stick by principles, fuck principles. Fuck being the Washington Generals. How about you try to win an election once in a while?
Right. No, I totally agree. And that's the thing is like Trump has done more in 2 weeks than he's done in his whole first term. Like I'm kind of glad that he was steamrolled in 2020, honestly. Like looking back at it,
Yeah.
like I'm glad they kind of whatever word you want to use took from him because that made him come back with a fucking vengeance. It's like I compare it to like A New Hope in the Empire, which isn't a good comparison, but like like this is like The Empire Strikes Back now, where he's like, no, we're gonna win. Like, I'm not saying we're bad. I'm just saying like it's in that tone of like, oh, the good guys won. In this instance, they think they're the good guys, And Trump's like, oh, cool, that you're gonna railroad me, you're gonna arrest thousands of people over the insurrection, quote unquote. It's like, cool, bet, wait for me to come back. And then he comes back, wins the popular vote, wins the electoral college, and then he's like, I'm signing everything into executive orders. And it's like, thank you. That's what we voted for. This is exactly what we wanted. Fucking actual change.
The first time I had you on my podcast was 2021. I was still working in radio, and it was funny because you just think a couple of years ago of where we were and what you can and cannot say.
Yeah.
Especially on Twitter, if you said something
Yeah.
about a certain shot didn't really work, or you said that this diaper you put on your face didn't really stop this transmission or whatever, you were looking at a potential ban. And not just a 24-hour ban or a week-long ban, a permanent ban. Because you were putting out misinformation. And it's interesting how things really radically and rapidly changed since then, that to the point where what we opened with, where you could just call someone retarded and there's no repercussion anymore. And I think back to 2021 and 22, because when there was this feeling that there was going to be the red tsunami in the election in 22, and it didn't happen. It was a trickle. Right. Republicans did win a little bit, but it wasn't this massive repudiation of the Democrats. And I was concerned at that time that people had forgotten about the lockdowns, that they'd forgotten about the mandates and the vaccine passports, the Excelsior pass. And it turns out, no, they didn't forget about it. It was just a bunch of, as J.D. Vance called them, childless cat ladies were emboldened by their uterus to go to the polls. And they kind of sat at home, or they, I don't know, had a nice wake-up call 2 years later.
Yeah. No, again, him winning was best case scenario that could happen to this fucking country. I don't care about them chirping. I don't care about it. Like, if you don't see the immediate effects of these last 2 weeks over the last 4 years, then you are retarded. Like, there's no other answer for that. And again, they had the same exact talking points, like especially the immigration thing. Ilhan Omar is telling people like how to circumnavigate getting caught by ICE. All these fucking like liberal white school teachers being like, come in my classroom, ICE. I'm like, they'll walk through you. They're not going to stop because you say so. Like, you'll go to jail with them.
You mean the teachers who said it was crazy for them to have guns?
Right.
So now you have ICE agents with guns?
Right.
It just never made sense to me.
No, the whole thing's a fucking joke. Nothing screams un-American like rooting against American interest. And you have a lot of politicians openly rooting against American interest and the American people. And it's obvious. I'm like, isn't this treason? Like, what happened to that? Didn't they used to fucking people for that shit back in the day? It's like, what happened? Now we're just openly on fucking social media being like, governors. You have governors being like, come and take them, isolate, like it's like that shit, and you're like, they will. Like, what are you gonna do? Or you have all these like local police departments, mainly like big city police departments, where they're like, we're not gonna help with the ice. They don't need your help, bro. They don't need your fucking help, dude. They'll use the military if anything. They don't need you. And if you stand in the way, guess what? You're abating felons. That's a crime, guy. See you later.
And these asshole libertarians are talking about that now, where they're like, well, I don't want to live in a police state. Again, where were you a couple of years ago when we had a police state? If you wanted to go to the beach in California, they were sending stormtroopers out there to arrest you on a surfboard.
Yep. 110%, dude. And again, like, I was a cop, first of all. So, like, I kind of get it. Like, you know, I was with the NYPD for a little bit. Also, by the way, when I took an oath, I swore an oath to the Constitution, not to a politician.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, you have a lot of these fucking chiefs out there, these police chiefs who are like, we're not gonna. It's like, you don't have a choice. You didn't take an oath to this fucking governor. You took an oath to the Constitution. What does the Constitution say? Not this. I'll tell you that much. It doesn't say shit about harboring illegal felons.
Well,
do
with
your fucking job.
With you working around the police in the police department, and my dad and my grandfather were police officers. I certainly wasn't, because of after Rodney King, didn't really want to go into the family business after that. It's interesting because you're noticing that the ICE agents, the police officers, members of the military, it's pretty obvious now that they were handcuffed, not literally, but metaphorically, definitely. That they couldn't really do anything. There was so much red tape. They're dealing with these bosses who say, stand down. The military members are dealing with the Mark Millies of the world of understanding white rage and pronouns. And now that the gloves are off, the shackles are off, they're able to actually do their jobs. Mm-hmm. And we may be finally getting to a point where the broken windows policing of 1994, when Rudy Giuliani took over in New York, you're from that area, and New York has went back to Dinkins days because of not patrolling and letting the drugs and crime and shitting in the streets and prostitution just run roughshod. And at some point there has to be a reversal, and you're seeing the reversal. Yeah, some people are going to cry. Yeah, there might be some broken noses, broken teeth, and some bloodshed, but you know what? It's time to crack skulls. I'm not a libertarian anymore.
Right. Dude, New York City is a shithole. Like, legitimately a shithole right now. Like, it's bad. Like, I mean, you drive down, even in the good areas, there's a shit ton of businesses boarded up still from COVID because they couldn't afford to stay open. And of course, it's not like Target, because they are a fucking major corporation. They can do whatever they want. So, like, small businesses are just closed down. There's like not as much commerce in New York City. And now with that new tax they put on cars, it's like a ghost town. And I'm like, yeah, you're destroying yourself. Good on you guys for being like you're destroying a major city in New York, in the country, because you want to be all liberal and shit. I mean, I live in Pennsylvania now, so I'm out of there. But like, you know, it's like I've never seen a city destroy itself as hard as that, or LA. Like, they are just tanking their own economy just for vibes, for like the aesthetic of virtue signaling. It's like, okay, man, well, you need money, so good luck.
I talked about this yesterday on my podcast about. During the Grammys the other day, they opened the ceremony because they already had a benefit for Los Angeles just 2 days prior. Then they did another. The Grammys essentially was We Love LA, and they actually opened with I Love LA, or by Randy Newman.
Yeah.
Which is a tongue-in-cheek song, like all of Randy Newman's songs. If anyone actually wants to look into, when he says I love LA, he's saying it like, yeah, I like the fact that it's warm and there's beautiful women, but it's really a shithole.
Right.
There's a part in the song which they had to change the lyrics in the Grammys during it, where it says, look at that mountain, look at those trees, look at that bum over there, he's down on his knees. And what he's talking about is the Matterhorn at Disneyland, the palm trees and the sun and everything. And oh, by the way, there's a whole shit ton of homeless guys that went out there, and they're begging, because the whole California used to be the American dream. You went forward, go west, young man. And it was, we're exploring new frontiers. And it turned into a caste system where it's a bunch of rich, mostly Jewish, but most white people who employ illegals to tend to their garden and mow their lawn and pick their fruit. And that's why they're so angry about this, because who's going to pick your fruit? Well, I don't know, people that you don't pay $2 an hour for.
Right.
It's
Right.
just amazing.
It's like, again, like you said earlier, I will pay more money for things if Americans have those jobs, and like I don't care. Like if I know it's going towards America and American interest, yeah, I'll pay more. That's a trade-off. I don't give a fuck about cheap avocados, like you said earlier. Like I do not care. Also,
what part of America first don't you get?
right, it's so simple. Also, liberals destroyed arguably one of the most beautifully aesthetic states we own, like California. Like and like I used to, like I've been out to LA a bunch of times. Like I like the idea of California, but it's unlivable. If you're not fucking a multimillionaire, good luck. It's like New York City, same shit, right? Yep. It's like, except not as pretty. It's gross. At least LA, you're like, oh, I could trade off for the sun and the beach. New York, it's like, oh, the fucking polluted Hudson, sick. I can't wait to pay $40 million a month with 8 other dudes in this small apartment. Like that shit. It's like it's a mind fuck, dude. Like I don't understand the thrive or the need for a lot of these young people to be like, let me go to LA and New York City, dude. This isn't the 80s, man. Like it's not. That's gone.
Yeah, if you want to be a comic and you're in the Midwest, at least if you want to try big city, go to Chicago. But
yeah,
I don't know,
good luck you're not getting shot to death.
Exactly. Start a TikTok then in your hometown in Mississippi. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
Speaking of America first, this whole thing that you're definitely seeing a weeding out of libertarians and all that, but then also you're seeing this weeding out of people on the supposed not left side, because I include libertarians, I include neocons, I include regular Republicans, far right, whatever you want to call them. And we saw this in the last month and a half now with the Vivek Ramaswamy tweet. And if people don't know what I'm talking about, you can look it up. But there's one tweet that really bit him in the ass. And it was talking about H-1B visas. And he was perpetuating the stereotype of the fat, dumb, lazy American who spent his Saturdays watching Saved by the Bell, while nerdy 10-year-old Vivek is at some science fair. Okay, I'm sorry you had to go to a science fair, a Pinewood Derby, while we're sitting there watching Ren and Stimpy or Rocko's Modern Life. But you know what? Okay, that's your culture. But to say that we need to start importing the third world to take tech jobs while we work at Panda Express.
Right.
It was just amazing seeing the Chris Rufos, the Mike Cernoviches, Matt Walsh.
Cernovich is a troon-loving. I don't want to say it on your YouTube channel.
But it doesn't matter. He is. He's to do the pull yourself up by your bootstraps, while Vivek only cares about Indians. And you're seeing this with this USAID thing and the deportations when Selena Gomez is like, oh, my people.
You're a millionaire. Why don't you?
Bitch, you're from Texas.
Right. And you're a millionaire. Why don't you take some people in? I don't see you doing it.
Nope.
Crazy.
No, the only person is apparently Governor Murphy in New Jersey.
I just saw that. I'm at the gym right now. I just saw that on the TV before I walked in here. Yeah, dude. Fuck. What did you just say in my brain? Before the Selena Gomez thing, what'd you say?
Well, just weeding out these.
The H-1B thing, right? I got it. I'm back. Again, it's like they're talking about the H-1B shit, and then you look at the website for H-1Bs, and it's like American companies are looking for like a graphic designer for like $45,000. I'm like, so you're telling me you can't find an American to do graphic designing for $45,000? You have to import a Pakistani or Indian guy to do that. Like, this is lies. Like you're not getting in the Elon. That's less than 1% of the people you're importing. Literally less than 1%. You're getting in fucking everyday Joes who contribute nothing and don't care about American culture at all. Like the Haitian shit in Ohio is one example. It's like these people aren't gonna care. They don't care about our values. They don't care about our history. They don't care about our culture.
They don't assimilate.
Right. They don't assimilate. As opposed to 3 out of 4 of my great-grandparents are Italian, and they came over on the boat, right? And my grandfather was first-generation American. And he grew up not speaking Italian at all. He could understand it, but couldn't really speak it because his parents were like, you're speaking English. You're American. You're not fucking Italian. That's over. Like, you're American. That shit used to at least assimilate into American. Now it's like, oh, so am I in New Delhi right now or fucking a part of Brooklyn?
All
Like,
these Hispanic baseball players, they're like, no habla inglés.
yeah.
It's like you've been the team once known as the Cleveland Indians have a player named Jose Ramirez, and
Mm-hmm.
when he speaks, he has to have a translator. Dude,
Mm-hmm.
you've been up here since 2013. You haven't even attempted to speak English.
Right.
You love our American women, you love our American dollars, you
Mm-hmm.
love what we have in this culture, yet you don't want to assimilate. And there's no incentive structure to do that. Like you said, my great grandparents came over off the boat from Krakow in Poland, and when they came into an area where there was enclaves, you had a German village, a
Yeah.
Polish village, a this, an Italian, Little Italy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That it was understood that when we're at home, we could speak Polish, you could speak Italian, speak whatever. But when we are out and about, when we're at the grocery store, when you're in school, you learn English.
Yep.
You have to speak English. You have to assimilate to this culture. And what we've decided in the last couple of generations, nah, we don't need it.
Yeah.
I used to do school events at another company I was working for, and we would go into some schools in Cleveland, Ohio, and go like, "How's it going, everybody?" And they wouldn't understand us because the entire school didn't speak English. They were all Hispanic. And at some point, you say, "This is 5 miles up the road from where I live, and it's like a different country."
I have a buddy. He's young, to be fair. He's like 23, 24, so he's a little young, but he's conservative leaning. And the other day he was texting me, and let me actually, I'll pull up his text right now. And he said, what did he say? Bro, the left thinks we hate immigrants. We hate illegal immigrants. I said we should put a hold on all immigration for the next 5 years, including all like legal immigration. He's like, I respectfully disagree on that. If they want to come in, they have to do it the legal way. And I just went to a diatribe about like, bro, you don't get it. Like legal or not, they're not assimilating to American culture. They
Yeah.
come over, they push Americans out of jobs. Because they'll work for cheaper, even if they are legal or not. Like this is the way it is. They don't value our culture. They don't value our history. Enough with the fucking legal or it should stop it. Like we need fucking America to come back to what we are, what made us great as a country in the first place. Then he hit me with we were founded on immigrants. I said, no, we weren't. We were founded off fucking
Settlers.
settlers. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. We founded off settlers who conquered other people to get what we had. They didn't just fucking walk into a fucking built society and like, oh, look what we built. Like, look what we no, dude, that ain't you. Like, you're not getting it yet. Like, you gotta get it, and that's not what it's a false equivalency.
I think a lot of people feel that way of saying that, yeah, no, we want immigration, but legal. You got to go through the proper channels. But they're not going through the proper
Right.
channels. The Rio Grande is like 2 feet deep. If anyone actually knows about the
Right.
geography, yeah, you could walk across it. Not anymore. Not if you're having Tom Homan with Chris
Right.
Hansen and Dr. Phil or whatever.
So funny. By the way, I was like, is that Dr. Phil?
No, it's Adam Ray as Dr. Phil.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
The
actually,
conception.
that's a good transition because I want to talk about a couple of other things that pertain to what we're discussing here. One of them being the generation gap, and that you and I are millennials, and we see that millennials' parents are usually boomers.
Mm-hmm. Mine are.
And boomers were raised during a time. Yeah, some had to go to basic training. You had to go to Fort Bragg, Fort Benning, whatever, Camp Pendleton. But for the most part, most boomers who were drafted didn't see any actual battle. Let's be
Right.
honest here.
Yeah.
Let's not make it think that you got basically a little vacation down to North Carolina or Southern California. That you had to go to basic training. Oh, you got abs and you smoke cigarettes and
Yeah, you have to learn how to play with guns. That's pretty cool.
you went to a whorehouse. That's nice. But so they were raised during a lot more of a decadent society, and that you can go to college for $2,000, like you're for 4 years, $2,000.
Right.
Buy your first car dirt cheap, and a home dirt cheap. Your wedding's dirt cheap. Raising kids is a lot cheaper compared to where it is now. And then they're the ones first saying that you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Stop whining. Kids don't want to work these days. However, I'm noticing that there is definitely a middle finger towards the children of the boomers, which are millennials, where I'm seeing Zoomers making fun of millennials of their love of Harry Potter and their love of The Handmaid's Tale and all this other very cringe stuff that our generation pushed 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see for Gen Z and even Gen Alpha? Do you think you're going to see a little bit more of that reversal since many of them are the children of Gen X who pushed Donald Trump over the edge? Are we going to see more of a base thing, because there's some who are saying that Zoomers are either ready to start the Fourth Reich, or others who are ready to cut their dick and tits off.
Uh, yeah, that's actually kind of what I was gonna say. I was gonna say from even like I'm at the gym a lot, like I'm at the gym right now, and I listen to a lot of young kids here talk, and they're like more based than I thought they would be. Like not all of them. Obviously, you have like you just said a lot of them who are clearly mentally ill and are just trying to fucking cut off body parts and being like, care about me. I'm like, I don't. But like a lot of like, okay, so this is how I felt like, and this was right before the election, and I felt like we were gonna be okay. I had my headphones in. I was working out on over here, and there was like 3 college age kids, and they were all staring at. She's a girl, but she has her hair cut like a boy, and she's like with another girl who's obviously a female, and they're like hugging. They're doing inappropriate gym shit, even if it was like a straight couple. Like, you don't make out at the gym and shit. Like that's like fucking. That's not what this place is for. But they were doing that, and they were looking at her like just like physically disgusted, and just started trashing her, like trashing both of them, and being like, "That's fucking gross, dude. Like this is like like what do you fucking pick a lane?" Like they were saying all that type of shit, and then they looked at me thinking like I was gonna say something mean to them or like correct them, and I leaned over, like I fist bumped. I was like, "No, you guys are right," and they're like, "Yeah." So like I do have hope that like the younger generation actually is going to be kind of based, like more based than not, because every generation has lefties and righties, right? That's just going to be how it is forever. No one's going to be all one way, but I feel like the Zoomers at least are kind of more conservative, but maybe Generation Alpha is going to go more progressive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, who knows?
They're too young to know yet. Like they're just too young. They're like, what? They're like 10, like
Yes.
the oldest one. Yeah, they're just too young to know.
Because we're dealing with a couple of generations now of men, and women have their own thing, but we're two dudes talking. These We are a generation of men who've been raised on pornography.
Yeah.
And what that does to the human psyche for a young man, and especially if you're someone who, when we were, 13, 14 years old, you still had to go on the internet if you wanted to look at, and then go to some BitTorrent website and download.
40 years to download one image of a naked chick. You're like, this isn't even worth it anymore. I stopped.
Yeah, exactly. It takes 2 days to get to the top of an areola of Carmen Electra. And you go, all right, okay, well, maybe I'll, bust on that. And then you realize over time that this is not good for anybody.
No, it's
not
so
a
bad.
Pressure release valve. This isn't anything. Then what does that do to young men who are trying to look for a woman? Well, they don't want a woman. Why would I want to date a 5 when I can go and look at 10s all day online? Why not? And what it's doing to these kids, hopefully these 20-somethings who, put a zin in their lips and, have they're wearing high socks again. We're back to those
what the
days.
fuck happened? I used to get trashed if I wore high socks growing up.
Yeah, that was gay. We're like, no, you don't do
gay.
that.
Yeah,
you wear ankle socks. I still wear ankle socks.
Me too, dude. I'm broken from it. I wear no-show socks. That's how low my socks are.
We're such boomers now. But I am seeing that little bit of a change. I hope it's a continued pattern, and I hope these 20-somethings that, hey, they might be listening to us right now. If you're listening, that vagina's the same.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, some are a little more blown out, some are hot dog down a hallway, some are a little tighter, some are wetter, some are dry, whatever. They're pretty much the same. So if you think you're just going to go on this run and start this body count, whatever, how about finding like the girl in college that one of your classmates, or you meet through friends, meet through church. Don't keep swiping right, swiping left at 2:30 in the morning. Chances are it's used car shopping, and you're trading one used car for another. And then all of a sudden you're 40 years old and you're like, wow, I just fucked around for 20 years. What do I have to show for it? So learn from the millennials, these sad, childless cat ladies. Learn from the incel douchebag 40-year-old guys who just sit around beating off all day.
Yep.
Don't be like them. They are cringe.
Yeah,
it's cool. Have children.
I'm openly anti-porn a lot. I'm like, especially for young dudes. I'm like again, like you just said, our generation. Like, I'm not gonna reach a 40-year-old dude, another fellow 38-year-old guy, and be like, stop watching porn. He'd be like, no. But I could try to get to the youth at least and be like, yo, before you get on this train, don't. Like, it's gonna lead to depression, unrealistic. Also, it's like full of like sex trafficking and underage women and stuff. Like the whole industry is also run by Jews. So like, like that says a lot in itself. But
What
like,
about Rabbi Shmuley and his
dude,
dildos?
that guy's such a piece of shit, honestly, dude. The amount of people I just want to physically fight in the world and I just can't, it's annoying. But like, yeah, I just like, if you're young, dude, don't watch porn. Go try to talk to a woman, work out. Like these are, by the way, the fucking addicted porn people. If I go, yeah, I eat nothing but meat and eggs and I work out 6 days a week, they're like, that's unhealthy for you, as they fucking jerking off, crushing sodas,
Seed oils.
yeah. And I'm like, I'm 30, dude. I'm 30. This is not a brag. I'm just saying this is fuck these people, and I want this is getting more for the youth. I'm 38 years old. I have 17% body fat and I have 40% muscle mass at 38. That's pretty fucking good. I think I know what I'm talking about. Like, eat meat, fucking drink milk, whole milk, not almond milk. Fuck that shit. Drink whole milk, eat meat, eat eggs, like eat clean, work out, enjoy yourself sometimes, but like don't overdo it. And these motherfuckers are like, that's bad for you, as you're eating processed fucking garbage. Like, it's like, dude, you look like shit. What are you talking about? Same people who are like, God's just the thing is God. Jesus is stupid. And you're like, okay. I'm like, you look like your life is miserable. Why the fuck would I listen to you? I'm gonna keep believing in Christ and working out. Thanks.
I've seen it with my own eyes of going to church. I go to the boomer suburban church, and all it is it's all white hairs. It's 70-year-old who are thinking that, I'm going to get right with God after all the promoting usury and selling my home to BlackRock and everything.
Yeah,
but I'll give $20 in the collection plate at the week. But when I go to a Latin mass or more traditional churches, I'm seeing 20-somethings with 3 kids, and the women are wearing veils. That I think people are waking up to realizing that they're not getting their values from Harry Potter and crystals and tarot cards anymore.
Right.
That, hey, this religion thing seems to have worked out for a lot of people for a long time. And it seems to, I don't know, it seems that when I run into religious people, they're not very miserable. It seems the miserable people are the ones who say that they say fuck God and fuck Jesus and all that. So
100%.
there's a better way, folks. So again, Zoomers listening, please don't be like most other millennials. We're pretty much a lost generation by design, I think, in some ways.
I think so too. I mean, my wife's a Catholic school teacher. That's the best you could get.
Yeah, pretty much. So, I wanted to ask you about this term woke right, because there's a huge thing it's not really huge, but it is a thing that we've seen now for nearly a year and a half, since October 7th, that it's a definite divide of, you're seeing a lot of Con Inc. talk about what we need to do about a certain country the size of New Jersey in the Middle East.
Right.
But they're also the same people that for how many years it was Ben Shapiro owns a blue-haired lesbian on a college campus, and woke, all this wokeness and the woke mind virus. And all of a sudden they get really woke when it comes to certain Saturday people with hats on in a certain country. So
we call them the tribe on 5 till midnight.
Yes, a certain nomadic tribe. Team 109. But anyways, we're having fun here, folks. Talking about that's where a lot of this woke right stuff, this James Lindsay,
he's such a fat fucking loser,
I can't
dude.
stand him.
He's such a dude. First of all, he has a video of him doing like cosplay swordplay. Gay. He's a literal cuck. Like, his wife fucks other dudes. His daughter's on OnlyFans, and this guy's conservative? No, he's a fucking fat piece of shit who I would dog walk. It's like all these again, woke right just equals being critical of Israel. That's all that means.
Kosher right. They are the kosher right. The people that this is another thing to weed out, is that they've been the ones harping on identity politics for how long? And yet, as soon as you say, hey guys, why are we funding Ukraine for years? Why did we have our people, bipartisan, quote unquote, off in 2014 to start a coup, and then we're just sending infinite supplies and money and everything to Ukraine? And why are we funding Israel? Why are we backing them in this case? Why have we? There's so many things to talk about, and anytime you bring it up and you bring up certain patterns and noticing certain things, that you're woke right. You're woke right. No, what?
No, I have a brain
I
and
don't even
eyes.
dignify it.
Like I have ears. I can just follow what's going on in front. I mean, we talked about X earlier about like not being censored anymore. Well, you know who you still get censored for? Too much of that. Too much of that talk. You still get fucking the ban. Or
Yeah.
Indians too, which is weird. But like there's still this is what I'm saying. Like there's still a contingency you just cannot talk about. Or criticize, I should say, not talk about. Like if you're like, I don't think like if you just go, hey, I don't think they should be decimating children over in Gaza. They're like, you're pro Hamas. I'm like, I actually don't give a shit at all about who wins or loses over there. I don't care at all. Kill each other. Go nuts. I couldn't give a fuck. But killing children is probably bad all around. Could we agree? No? Okay, I guess I'm the asshole. It's like, what world am I in?
Yeah, well, listening to I heard Tucker Carlson's interview with conversation with Piers
That was
Morgan.
great.
It was great because it was like listening to everybody's boomer dad for how
Yeah,
long, and the son who's not a teenager is talking to a grown man talking to dad, and
right,
dad's like, well, I think Putin's a dictator, but Zelensky's not. Like,
right.
what are you talking about?
He suspended elections. Like, what are you talking about? Like the
They're
whole
the
thing with
same people
NATO.
who think
It's like,
Abraham Lincoln is the greatest
right,
president. It's like he was a literal dictator.
literal. Yeah. By the way, I've been opening up a lot of people's eyes to the Abraham Lincoln talk lately because they don't. MLK too. Like all these fucking like heroes. Again, quote in quotes. Like I'm like, they're genuine pieces of shit. MLK was an adulterous gay communist. What are we talking about? Like
Yeah,
literally.
but he was a pro-Zionist.
Yeah, right. So, well, he had his use until he didn't need him anymore, and then boom.
That was what was it? Stanley Levison, I believe his name was his communist handler who
Oh
wrote
yeah,
all
yeah,
the
yeah,
speeches.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe you're right.
and Rosa Parks as well. So a lot of people are waking up to a
Hmm.
lot of these psyops. That's actually an interesting transition into a topic is what we're seeing from this post World War II consensus and the civil rights movement and everything that was psyoped in the 1960s. It dated back into the 40s, but it took a little bit for things to really cook. Got to put if you have a crock pot, you're not going to expect your food's going to be ready in 2 minutes. You got to
Right.
let it simmer a little bit. And it culminated in the 1960s. You had the Vatican II Council,
Hmm.
you had civil rights movement and everything. And this upending of it all the way to what we're seeing now with DEI. And the normie response of, whoa, what's wrong with diversity, equity, and inclusion? That sounds racist if you're against that. And you're like, we're not playing your game anymore. We're not playing
Right.
your little
That's done.
verbal games. We're done with this. We're finally done. And people are actually have a platform now. Thank you, Elon Musk, that
Right.
people can have this discussion where it's not people dropping N bombs and slurs all the time. Some people can, some people have. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's gratuitous, sometimes it's could be certain people cosplaying as whatever. But the fact that we can actually go on Twitter and have a conversation by saying, "Hey, I've noticed that Adam Schiff and Rochelle Walensky, and I'm noticing that Janet Yellen and Alejandro Mayorkas and Anthony Blinken and Merrick Garfinkel, excuse me, Merrick Garland. I'm noticing that there's a little pattern here. Oh, you can't say that. Well, I
Can't say
just
that.
did, and
Yeah,
now we
right.
did. So
Right.
it's out there, and people are starting to wake up.
This is what I try telling my other buddy too. I'm like, you understand, like Marxists and communists, they subvert culture with language. They're not going to overpower you because they can't, right? Like, but back in the 40s, they could start their shit, and then look at that, it's to 2025, and look what's on. Like again, like McCarthy didn't go far enough, right? Like you said all the time, like he was right. They were everywhere. They were
They
fucking
really
everywhere,
were.
and they subvert culture subtly and over time. It's not a blunt force hit. They see what they can get away with, take that, and move on. See what they can get away with, take that. They just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it.
It's the long march through the institutions.
Right. And then it's like, oh shit, that worked. And we're all like, what happened? It's like, we've been fucking telling you since the 50s, dude. Or the 40s even. Like, we've been telling you. Like, when Patton was like, we should just take out Russia. He was right. And that's why he got fucking killed, in his car accident. It's not a immediate blunt force trauma. It takes time. Like, they put shit in play they know they're not even going to see out to live. Live out to see, I mean. Like, but they're setting it up. It's like dominoes. It's like a long con domino game where they hit that one domino and it takes 50 years for that last one to fall. And you're like, oh shit, what happened? You're like, hey, bro, we've been telling you, but I was racist.
That's
So it's
why
like
I'm very happy with what we've seen the last 2+ weeks now, but it's going to take a lot longer for it
100.
to
Yeah.
really kind of reverse things. Because again, we're talking about, when we say long march through the institutions, we're talking 100 years. We're talking about since
Right.
Wilson.
Right.
This
Right.
isn't something that just because Loudoun County there was this case of a transgender rapist in a school and it flipped the county and made Glenn Youngkin to be the governor. Okay, yeah, that was nice 3.5 years ago. It's going to take many decades to reverse this and really root this out. Great progress right now,
Right.
better than anything anyone could have even envisioned, even all the way up to 2 months ago. But it's going to take a lot longer because they had to subvert all these other
Right.
institutions, including education, which
Right.
is what
Big
we're
one.
seeing right now of hopefully the Department of Education by the time I upload this it will be dismantled.
Yeah.
But they had to go through it. They had to go you have to take all these down. You have to root it out. And they're like, well, we can't just topple everything. Well, why not?
Right. Why?
Why not?
There's no reason because you're subverting democracy. Shut the fuck up, dude. Like you said, I'm done with that game. It does not work. It
We
just
haven't
does
lived
not.
in a democracy anyways.
Exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
not a constitute. When I hear, oh, we're a representative republic, when I hear boomers say that, you go, no, we're not either. We're an occupied government. We've been an
Mm-hmm.
oligarchy for a long time. We've been an occupied government by Zogs since 1945, basically. And yeah, so hopefully this stuff, and that we do have good people in our corner who are in Trump's ear, the good one.
Right. Yeah. No, that was a conspiracy.
That's right. Yes, I've heard it's a conspiracy.
Remember, everything else you're not allowed to say is a conspiracy. Like the jabby jab and everything, the Vegas stuff and that's all you can't say that.
Thomas Crooks.
But that's a conspiracy. The Trump getting shot and a guy getting his head blown off in front of fucking thousands of people. That was fake, guys. This we're all clear. It's like, oh, now we can say that. Now we can say that's a conspiracy. It's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like that's what I'm saying. The only people who buy this stuff is like they're not turning anybody. Like the only people that believe this is the people that believed it 5 years ago, 10 years. You're not no one in the middle. You're not turning anyone in the middle, and you're not turning anyone on the right to their bullshit. It's just parroted to their fucking tribe. I don't even mean the one in the Middle East. I just mean like their fucking thing, and it just keeps going and going and going. And it's like, yeah, who are you trying to convert though? Yourselves?
Well,
Because you ain't buying us.
they trust the experts.
Right? Yeah.
It's such midwittery
Yes.
of
Such a good.
people.
It's so true.
As JD Vance said last week with that Limey who was like, well, if you ever read this passage, and JD's like, no, this is what we're dealing with. We've dealt with 40 years of people with 110 IQs that think they have an IQ of
Right.
130. It's like, we're
Right.
done with this. We're not doing it. And those 110 IQ midwits who are the
Right.
ones that are like, well, but Dr. Fauci recommended this,
Right.
and Francis Collins once. No, we don't need to listen to that consensus opinion
Right.
because the means have changed. That I can think for myself. I can disagree with people that are on my side. But you really, at this point, we can't debate. Those of us on this side cannot debate the wine ant who's watching MSNBC right now. There's no getting through to him.
Right. It's a brick wall. And like I guess my question is, why is that like IQ spot full of like what causes you to become like retarded essentially? Like, yeah, you're not technically like a dummy, but like what is it that makes you like become a midwit? Like what is it? Like what because like we're not. So like what the fuck is it?
You know
Like
what? You know what I think it is? It's the brainwashing of academia. That when you get into a religious discussion with people, or you get into a geopolitical discussion, it's third grade talking points. It's stuff you learned in social studies class in third grade about this is what the Bill of Rights said, and this is this and this, and they didn't learn like those of us who ask questions, we're like, well, wait a second, I want to look into this. See, we're celebrating Black History Month, and I hear about Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King, and some people will still spout the line like, oh no, see, he said this and this and this, and I'm like, his name was Michael King. He was
right.
like you said, he was an adulterer. He watched
Yeah.
his friend rape a woman.
Hmm.
Honestly, one of the most horrible people. Him and Bonhoeffer is another one. That's another classic.
Hmm.
But that we're taught all these things instead of us looking into them a little bit more. It's just they stop at T-shirt slogans. They stop at "Science is real," "Black
Right.
Lives Matter," "Love is love," "Water is wet." All these ridiculous things that you would
Right.
see on a yard sign, and you almost have to just let them figure it out on their own. And if they don't, just make sure that you outvote them and out rally them when it
Well, that's the
comes
other thing
time.
too, is like you have all these leftists who are like pro-abortion and stuff. I'm like, eliminate your bloodline. Honestly, that's great. That's better for us. 'Cause we're
David
like,
Hogg.
yeah, yeah, dude. Oh man, he should have fucking taken one in Florida, but it's like he wasn't even there. By the way,
No.
he wasn't even at the fucking school. Like that guy, that kid's a fucking plant. Also, real quick, like I gotta get out of here. But him turning to him as the co-DNC chair, vice chair, whatever the fuck, and they're like, we need young men back in. It's like, who the fuck is looking at him as a masculine figure? That dude's a twink bitch. I'll break him on my fucking knee, dude. Like, what are you talking about?
I know they should have picked Harry Sisson.
Yeah, another one. It's like all these weak, low T, like limp wristed men, effeminate men. Like, dude,
Tim Waltz. Tim Waltz with his jazz hands.
fucking
Yeah, that's
gay.
the picture of masculinity.
Yeah, so fucking gay. It's just so, and like, I'm not saying like Andrew Tate's like the right, like, cause he's a douchebag too. But like, my point is, at least he's like visibly jacked and shit. So at least if you look at him when you're young, you're like, well, that guy's in shape. It's like there's something already there. Them, it's like, what the fuck? You got nothing. You're 120 pounds. You probably get domed by some dude. It's like I just they don't get it. Like you're gonna keep losing. like you're gonna keep losing.
Keep at it.
Yeah,
Well,
keep at
if you want to check out some actual men, go check out the
it. Yes.
5 Till Midnight podcast, and one of them being my guest today is Adam Nutter, and yeah, go check that out. Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Before I let you go, predictions Super Bowl.
Well, I'm a Giants fan, so fuck the Eagles. So I have to root for the Chiefs, and
You
I
you,
don't
you
want to.
actually are, so you are rooting for the Chiefs then?
Would I be
Because
a good Giants fan if I rooted for the Eagles?
no, you would watch the Puppy Bowl instead, I think.
Exactly. So I have to root for the Chiefs. I have to root for the Chiefs, unfortunately. But you know what? At least I maybe witnessed greatness. Three-peat. Never happened before. It's pretty cool. So I'm gonna root for the Chiefs. I do think the Chiefs win, but I think it's gonna be a close game. Like I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. Like, and I'm not saying that because I hate the Eagles. I just think that Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes, and he's gonna pull some Pat Mahomes shit in the Super Bowl, and they're gonna. I think it might be like a 27-21 game, or like I don't think it's gonna be like over 50 points.
Yeah, I think we're going with three-peat, and especially with Andy Reid being a former Eagles coach. So
Yeah, beat him twice.
well, Adam, hey, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast. We'll have to have you back. I'll have to have you back on again sometime soon. And yeah, good luck with everything. And thanks again.
Yeah, thanks, dude. We got to get you on 5 till midnight. Also, follow me on Twitter, everybody, at Adam Nutter, please. Thank you.
There you go. Adam Nutter on the podcast, the Check Your Brain podcast. We'll be back with you with another free episode coming up for you next Wednesday. The rest of you, if you want more content from me, go to patreon.com/Tony Mazur, TonyMazur. Have yourselves a good one. And all you freebies out there, go check me out next week. And bye.